Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to be going over an upcoming warmer pattern for especially the eastern US as well as for parts of the southwest. We also have some chillier temperatures up into the northwest, so we're also going to be talking about that. In the beginning part of today's video we're going to also talk about the tropics. We have three systems out there, one of which could curve up into the United States, so I'm going to briefly talk about that. I don't want to make a video on that storm right now because we don't have a lot of information on it. We still haven't seen any aircraft reconnaissance on it from NOAA, and again, we're still 5 to 7 days out from that one even approaching the United States. So I'm just going to mention it quickly in the beginning of the video, and then if that still is holding up tomorrow, then I'll probably make a video on it for tomorrow. So taking a look at the current National Weather Service page, you can see that we have some air quality alerts in effect for the Northwest, as well as a little bit of parts of Minnesota, Texas, and then also scattered throughout the Mid-Atlantic as well. We have some red flag warnings in effect for parts of Colorado and Wyoming, as well as some excessive heat warnings in effect for some parts of Nevada, Arizona, and California. We also have a bunch of heat advisories in effect for much of Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, pretty much in the entirety of Missouri and Arkansas, as well as some parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, Kentucky, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and also into southern Michigan, as well as another area for upstate New York, one more area for lower upstate New York and also Long Island, and then southern Connecticut as well, with some of those heat advisories currently in place. Yesterday, we had a high temperature of 112 degrees tied between Stovepipe Wells, California, and Death Valley, California. The low temperature was 35 miles west-southwest of Chote, Montana, where they got down to 22 degrees Fahrenheit. And the highest rainfall report was in Chattahoochee, Florida, where they got 3.08 inches of rainfall. No snowfall reports as of yesterday. Here's a look at our weather photo of the day. This is from Max, and he sent this in. And this is actually a really cool photo from him. He was on a flight going down to Savannah, Georgia, in that general area, and he snapped a photo of a view outside of the window. It looks very, very interesting. You can see the swampy terrain that you have, especially down into southeastern Georgia and into southern South Carolina. You do get a lot of swampland within there, a lot of uninhabited areas and forests down there, because the land is really hard to navigate through because of all the rivers and how flood prone it is, and also because it's hard to really create any to really farm on that land. It's very bad land to actually farm on. Usually most of the agriculture is further inland, so this is an area that usually isn't too inhabited, especially through some of those swampy areas. It's actually really cool to see an overhead view of that. You can also see the clouds in the background as well, and then of course you have the wing of the plane over there. So this is again an overhead flight view from somewhere in between Hilton Head, South Carolina, and Savannah, Georgia, in that general area. If you want to send in your photos for the photo of the day, send it to that email, which is at the bottom of your screen, or you can also send it to the email, which is linked in the description, and then just post when you're sending in that email where you took that picture from, so I can add it for the photo of the day. Here's a look at the National Hurricane Center page over the next 5 days. You can see that we have three different storms that we're tracking. We have Invest 97L, which has a 30% chance of developing within the next 2 days, and within the next 5 days, an 80% chance of developing. That's in the central Atlantic. Not really expecting any major impacts to land. Same with Invest 98L. We're looking at a 20% chance within the next 2 days, a 30% chance within the next 5 days. Again, this one is not expected to become any sort of threat to the United States or really any land in general. Invest 99L is the one that we really want to pay attention to. There have been some models like the GFS and the European model which want to bring this somewhere to the central Gulf Coast, and we don't know exactly where that would be. And then there's others, some of the tracking guidance, which is bringing this into eastern Mexico, and some that have it dissipating before it does so. So there's a bunch of different solutions. You can see that the National Hurricane Center page is giving Invest 99L a 40% chance of developing within the next 2 days, and within the next 5 days, an 80% chance of developing This is the little area that they have circled in for the highest chance of that developing happening within. But again, we don't know exactly what's going to happen into that later stage of that cone. Where in the Gulf of Mexico is that going to impact? Is it going to maybe veer off to the south because of a high pressure system in the eastern United States linked to the warmer temperatures? Or is that high pressure system going to move further west and allow some sort of passage into, let's say, somewhere like Mississippi or Louisiana? Maybe that high pressure is a little bit further to the east and it moves into Texas or into northern Mexico. Again, there's a lot of different things that could happen with this system. So I'm not going to make a video fully about it today because I think it was something like 9 straight videos all about the tropics. So we're going to give that a break. We're going to talk about now the pattern over the U.S., but probably by tomorrow, if this is still holding up and we're still expecting somewhere a landfall along that Gulf of Mexico coast, whether that be in Mexico or maybe as far east as Florida, then I will probably make a video on that. I just don't want to make so many videos in a row about these about the tropics, just to kind of give you guys a break from that. So now we're going to talk about the pattern. Looking at also just for the longer range, the tropics, again, they are still going to be heating up even after this. You can see the 3 systems for this week, and then you can see also for next week, we're expecting this system to develop that invest 97 or 98L, and then we're also expecting extra development of another system potentially by September 1st through September 7th. So the tropics definitely getting up to an active star, and it looks like that's going to continue through September, which is typically the most active of all the hurricane season months. So getting into the pattern and the high temperatures, these are not going to be super high over these areas. They're going to mainly be within the mid-90s to about 100 degrees in some of these areas, and they're going to be between about 5 and 10 degrees above normal. So nothing crazy, but it will be warmer than normal, and it will feel a lot muggier, especially if you live along the eastern U.S. from what you were dealing with just a couple weeks ago, where we were in a nice chillier pattern, and it wasn't as muggy and humid as it will be over the next couple of days. We will get some relief potentially later in the week, but for at least the beginning for the later part of this week, it looks like we're probably going to be dealing with some warmer temperatures. So you can see that for Thursday of this week, which is tomorrow, you can see that we have some of those warmer temperatures getting up near 95 to 100 degrees in through the central and southern plains. As you get into the southeast and the east coast, not as warm, but still up near 85 to 90 degrees. Higher elevation regions probably getting up into the mid 70s, into the 80s as well. You can also see the area of slightly chillier temperatures in through the northwest. This is going to become a lot more prevalent later in the week, but we do have temperatures only getting up into the 70s in these areas. Higher elevation regions only getting up into the 60s, and even some areas not even getting up into the 50s, especially in those higher elevation regions. So that will become a lot more pronounced over the next few days. The southwest, for pretty much this entire week and the upcoming weeks as well, will probably be in the triple digits, especially for those areas in southern Arizona and southeastern California, which are used to it. Areas near Death Valley National Park, as you get along the Mexican border in Arizona, those areas typically are where you see the warmest temperatures. And if you were looking at the daily high temperature and low temperature thing that I do in the beginning of each video, you would notice that pretty much every single high temperature has been in Death Valley, California, or Stovepipe Wells, California, both of which are in Death Valley National Park. So that area is typically the warmest out of anywhere in the United States. And so that's probably just going to continue. We're probably not going to see any deviance from that over the next few weeks. If we move on to Friday of this week, which is the 27th, you can see that we have still warm temperatures into the southwest, but you're now starting to see a little bit of a rise in the warmer temperatures. Notice that as you get into that northern tier of the U.S., so let's say along areas from Washington State all the way to the UP of Michigan, you're now dealing with, especially around Lake Superior, with some chillier lake temperatures. That's allowing some of your temperatures on land, let's say in areas surrounding Duluth, Minnesota, getting up only into the 60s, the low 60s, maybe even the upper 50s. So it is definitely getting chillier in through that area, One of the reasons is because we're going to be having a southerly or even southwesterly breeze coming in like this, and coming off of the colder lake, which has lake temperatures in the low 60s, even upper 50s. That's kind of splashing right onto land, right into the UP of Michigan, into northeastern Minnesota, northern Wisconsin. So that will help to lower the temperatures over that microclimate. But then the rest of this of the central and eastern United States expected to be warmer, not as warm, still into the mid and lower 90s, a few triple digits as you get further to the west. As we move on to Saturday, you can see that the high temperatures, the really warm temperatures, are expected to be moving further to the east. So you can see that we have this little dome right here where we have temperatures getting between 85 and 95, few areas getting a little bit above that. We do get a little bit of a break if you live in the northeast or in the northwest. It does warm up along the Great Lakes the next day. So on Saturday, it will warm up for those areas. You'll have that brief time where you're in the 50s, and that'll feel quite chilly compared to what you were dealing with just a couple of days ago. But then it'll probably go right back into being into the 70s or even the 80s in a few of those spots. You can see that the northwest and the northeast get a little bit of a break, still warm for pretty much everywhere else. If we move on to Sunday of this week, you can see that still we're dealing with some warmer temperatures into the lower 90s, or even into the mid 90s for some of those areas, especially in the southwest. That's where we're dealing with triple digit heat pretty much for the entirety of this week, and I'm not expecting that to go away anytime soon. If we look at the 6 to 10 day outlook, which goes from the 30th of this month all the way to the 3rd of September, you can see that we have slightly chillier temperatures expected in through the northwest. And then if we look for parts of the southwest into pretty much the entirety of the central and eastern U.S., we're dealing with warmer temperatures that are expected to be, around 60 to 70% chance of being above normal in those areas. So fairly warm for many of these spots. And it looks like that'll probably hold in for at least a couple days. I'm not expecting any of this to be super warm, so I'm not expecting anywhere to be into the triple digits or the high triple digits in let's say somewhere in the central or southern plains. It is possible in the southwest, but let's say anywhere east of the Rockies, we're not expecting any tremendous heat. But I think the sustained heat of really warm temperatures combined with the kind of muggy and humid environment will probably make it a lot more uncomfortable for these areas over the next couple of days and couple of weeks. And I think that the fact that it's not going to go away for a while will also be a lot more important, and it'll make it feel a lot warmer, especially as you're getting into the later part of this pattern. If we look at the 8 to 14 day outlook from the 1st of September to the 7th, you can see that we have a little area of below normal temperatures along the Canadian border in the northwest, and then we have some warmer temperatures for pretty much everywhere else except for along the Gulf Coast. And that's where probably the ocean waters will help to moderate the temperatures, but areas inland of there will probably be on the warmer side of things. Looking at the upper air map and why this is happening, you can see that we have a high pressure by Friday of this week in through the eastern United States. You can see the tropics at work in parts of the Caribbean and the lower Gulf of Mexico. So again, that storm probably the topic of tomorrow's video, and I really hope that this is not curved into the United States. Hopefully this just dissipates over water, although that does look unlikely with the highly favorable Gulf of Mexico and Western Caribbean waters. So we're going to be talking about that in tomorrow's video. And again, we're going to hope that this stays as a either tropical depression or a tropical storm. But again, this does look like this does have potential to become something stronger. We have our low pressure into the northwest and into southwestern Canada. And then you can see also another high pressure offshore into the Pacific Ocean. And what this is helping to do is create a little bit of isolation in the southwest. So it doesn't really matter what happens with the east coast high pressure because the west coast already has another high pressure that is helping to supply the warmer temperatures into the areas like southeastern California, southern Nevada, and southern Arizona. So those areas probably for at least another week or two are going to be enduring some fairly warm temperatures. If you're into agriculture or you need to know this information for the rainfall, here's the rainfall outlook from the 30th through the 3rd. So this is the 6 to 10 day outlook, and luckily it looks like it will be above normal in these areas. That's not good. That's not good news for the areas that were impacted with Henry, but for everywhere else in the country, it is fairly good news to get a little bit more water, and it definitely can't hurt for most of these areas. It doesn't look like we're going to see any prolonged rainfall events, except for if that storm in the Gulf of Mexico comes into the United States. That would be pretty much the only sustained rainfall that we would see over the eastern United States. The rest of this will probably come from a mixture of thunderstorm activity or just light rain events that are sweeping across the country. So good news for there. Bad news if you live in the Northwest, looking like it's going to be a little bit drier. And then also if you want to go to the beach in, let's say, southern or central Florida, that'll definitely be good because it looks like we're not going to be seeing too much rainfall over the next couple of days in those areas. So that is going to wrap it up for today's video. Please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning on notifications. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.